This is Chelsea Weber-Smith, and you're listening to the Fascination Street Podcast.
Yeah, AV in your ears. That's Ambush Van giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world with my boy Steve. Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you?
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with author Noah Asher. Noah is the author of the book Chaos, Overcoming the Overwhelming. In this episode, we talk about what got him into spirituality and religion. We talk about his time in prison. We don't really go into what it was for. It wasn't for very long, but as you can imagine, it did have a profound effect on him and how he leads his life going forward. He found his purpose while he was incarcerated, and that is helping people who are in the midst of chaos, which is what the book is about. We talk a little bit about an illness that he suffered, and he goes into some pretty decent depth on that. And then we talk about his book. Again, it's called Chaos, Overcoming the Overwhelming. And we talk about some of the lessons that he has learned and some of the knowledge that he tries to impart on the reader. Noah and I had a lot of fun. The subject matter is a little more serious, but we had a good time presenting it, and we had fun laughing the whole way. He's a pretty humorous dude, considering the subject matter is so serious. Reach out to his website and say, hey, I want one of those autographed books. Again, the name of the book is Chaos, Overcoming the Overwhelming. And this is my conversation with author Noah Asher.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Noah Asher. How you doing today, man?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I cannot complain because nobody cares. So what I like to do, Noah, is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So if you don't mind, man, where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in South Georgia.
This is over. I'm from Texas, and Georgia doesn't count.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you watch college football, but I'm a big Georgia Bulldog fan, and we're playing Texas this year.
The Longhorns?
Yes, the Longhorns. Now that they're finally in the SEC, they wanted to play real football, I guess, so they're coming our way.
Nice. Love it. Bulldogs and Longhorns is the name of your new book. No, wait. So you're born in South Georgia. What's near you? I mean, you don't have to give me your specific town, but what town that we have heard of that is near you in Georgia?
I feel like you're trying to locate me on like Google Earth. Or something.
I am. Yeah, this is a geo-tracking podcast.
Cool. No, the closest town is like Macon, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm like 3 hours from everything. I'm 3 hours from Atlanta, 3 hours from Panama City, 3 hours from St. Simons, 3 hours in every direction to find fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Fun. This dude's going to get in trouble for saying fun. So what did you want to be when you grew up, man? What was the plan?
I always wanted to be on the Fascination podcast. That was always my goal.
Fascination Street. Is that what you meant? Yeah. No, I get it.
Fascination Street. Yes. Let me be specific. Growing up, I always thought I would be just a communicator, like a speaker, traveling around speaking. And really, just like as a Christian, I always just wanted to share my faith.
Wait, so as a little kid, you're like, you know what I want to do when I grow up? I want to spread the good word.
Yeah, I really have. I've always wanted to just like speak places.
Why? Where did that come from?
I don't really know. I am a musician, and like early on when I was 10 years old, I started learning to play guitar. And by the age of 12, I really started playing and leading worship at church, even at the age of 12. And then it's just like, oh, I want to do this. I want to travel. I want to do this full time. And then years later, I found myself just struggling with addiction and struggling with other issues. My life just turned into chaos. Shout out to my new book called Chaos, but my life turned into chaos. And now I'm on the other side of it. And it's kind of funny. It's full circle. Now I'm back doing what I always thought I would be doing, which is speaking places. But it's in a completely different environment in which I thought I would be speaking. Now I'm speaking in rehabs and addiction centers and prisons and just sharing, hey, listen, there's hope for you. And that's ultimately what I want to be, is the hope for those who are hurting.
So since you're leading worship at 12, I'm going to say you grew up super into church. Can I say that? Can I
Yeah.
say super into? Is that cool? Is that fair?
Yeah.
So is that a Southern Georgia thing or is this a family thing? Like, was your family super into the church and that's just kind of how you grew up? Or was this an offshoot? Like your family's like, what church? Get out of here. And you're like, okay, I'll get out of here and then I'll go to church. Like,
Yeah.
how did that work?
It's funny. My parents didn't really go with me, and I have two older brothers, and they didn't really go either. But my friends, we all went together. And it was funny, like if I did bad in school, my mom was a teacher. That's how she would punish me. She would take away like my guitar, and then she would take away church. And I was like, Mom, you're going to hell. I'm just kidding.
So you get in trouble at school and your mom is like, that's it. No more Jesus for you.
That's right. Yeah. Um, she got it backwards, I guess. But no, but my brothers, they didn't go either, and it was just something I did on my own.
How did you find it?
It was really for friends. Like we all went together.
So these same friends that you were getting in trouble with at school, they were like, "Hey, you know what? You know what's cool? You know what's out of the box? Hey, you want to do something different?
Yeah,
Let's open the big book."
that's right. For sure. I would say it this way is that especially growing up in the age that I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was like the cool thing to do. And so I went definitely for the wrong reasons at first, and then throughout I found like the good reasons.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you a lot, obviously. You said you started going for the wrong reasons?
Well, just like for fun, for girls, wink, wink, try to find that relationship, that sort of thing. And we also were having a lot of fun, loved the music aspect of it, but it was just really just an outlet for, again, I grew up where there was nothing, right? So this was the place to be on Wednesday night for youth group.
Interesting. We're going to go all over the place. And if there's anything you don't want to talk about, just say, I don't want to talk about it, and I'll cut all that out, okay?
Okay.
For a period of time, an unknown period of time, you were an incarcerated individual. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long were you incarcerated for?
It's funny. I only did a little over a year.
Only.
Yeah, I mean, one day is too much, but the reason I say only in that way is I'll never forget I got there and they're like, these guys were like, man, how long you got? And I was like, 11, 12 months. And they're like, you're counting months, we're counting years. And I was like, oh, well, I won't bring that up again. So I definitely didn't have a lot of time in comparison to some of the other guys, but one day is too much for sure. And I ended up trying to take my own life just because I thought life was over.
We're going to get there in a few minutes. Were you at a federal facility or were you at a state facility?
State.
Okay. How did you find it? Have you seen Orange is the New Black? And I know that that's girls and you were not in a girl. Wait, were you in a girls' prison?
I was not in a girls' prison, unfortunately. No.
Oh, man. That'd be like going to church for the wrong reasons.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to prison for the wrong reasons.
So what did you think about it, man? I know you said one day is too much, but was it everything that we see on TV?
In a lot of ways, yeah. Like the food is bad. Your mat is like an inch thick.
I like that you called it a mat and not a bed.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bed.
It's like one of those kindergarten nap mats.
Yeah, that meets yoga mat. Fun fact, don't do yoga poses in prison.
Fun fact, don't try to do yoga in prison.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me write that down.
tattoo it on your arm just in case.
I'll just wait till I get to prison. They do tattoos there, right?
They do.
Did you get a prison tattoo?
Tramp stamp.
Gross.
No, I did not get any tattoos. Let me clarify. I did not get any tattoos.
This is going to sound so weird, but did you make any friends? I mean, I know that you had to, I don't know, I guess be cordial and make sort of friends while you were there, but are there any friendships that lasted once you got out?
I made some friends while in there. It was more to like play spades, like the card game and things like that. But when I got out, I realized I wanted nothing to remind me of that place.
So you wrote a book about it?
I wrote a book about it instead. That was therapy though. That was more of like, let me just vent. But no, like just having to see those faces again and relive that was hard. So like when you get out, you're like, yeah, man, what's your number? We'll hang out when we get out. But it's like, no, I don't want to go back to the wrong people.
You show up to a party and you're like, oh, hey, how do you know them? Well, like that.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, just check out my interview on the Fascination Street podcast.
Yeah, just check out my tramp stamp.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It has my inmate number on it. It's really cool. But I kind of just parted ways with a lot of those guys simply just for the sake of healing and moving forward.
Sure. Obviously, every situation is different, but I think a lot of people, when they get out of prison, they're not even allowed to hang out with people who used to be in prison.
I mean, there is truth in that. If you have like probation or parole, a lot of times they tell you, yeah, don't hang out with people who are.
But you didn't have any of that when you got out, right? You were just like time served and done.
Yeah, I had a little bit of probation, not much, but I guess that is a rule. I didn't even think about that as one of the reasons, but it just wasn't even in my mind that that's who I wanted to hang out with.
Sure. Remember I said we're going to jump around a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
When did you get out of prison? Like how many years ago?
2018.
It is my understanding that at some point, and I'm confused as to how this happened, you were in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
What?
One point I was in a wheelchair. We're going on almost 2 years now. I was in a wheelchair. I got diagnosed with lupus. We didn't know what it was. They just kept saying it was autoimmune. They didn't really figure out what it was. It was making my right leg, making it impossible to walk. And every movement with my right leg was excruciating pain. And so they had me wheel around in a wheelchair. I tried the walker for a little bit, like the one with the tennis balls. And I was like, nah, I feel older than using the wheelchair.
I feel older.
Yeah, so I went with the wheelchair.
Do tennis balls make you feel old?
They
Yeah,
do. They
do.
really do. I feel like the guy from the Disney movie Up.
I interviewed that guy.
Really?
Twice.
Wow.
Yeah, Ed Asner. He's a 2-time guest on my show. He's passed since, but
Wow.
yeah, that guy was on here. I've always wondered if I ever had to get a walker, would I go with racket balls instead of tennis balls? My mom, a million years ago, she was having all these crazy autoimmune issues and they couldn't figure it out. And finally, they decided that it was lupus. I guess lupus takes different forms and shows itself in different ways. Other than having a useless leg, were there any other signs or symptoms or products of this lupus?
Yeah, it was really like a skin form of lupus at first for me. I was just itching all over nonstop. There's nothing I could do to make me feel better.
Just like head to toe everywhere? You were just itching like crazy?
Head to toe itching. It was like I thought I was having an allergic reaction, but it was 24/7. And at this point, I cut out everything. And I was thinking, there's only one thing that I could potentially be allergic to at this point, and this is water, because that's how much I cut out. And still, I was just itching, and it was so painful. It was so miserable.
And how old were you during this time?
30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you look like you're 21 right now, by the way. Holy moly.
Yeah, thank you.
Cutting out water does the body good, I guess. I don't.
That and prison.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Highly recommend if you're looking for a de-ager.
A de-ager. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
That's
great.
Cool. So I guess they got you on some meds and got you all sorted?
I don't know if your mom knew about this, but it's newer, but they put me on a few rounds of like chemo.
For that?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever.
Well, it's okay. So they did do chemo on my mom, but that was because they were like, oh, and hey, by the way, you have leukemia. And so they did some chemo on her.
Wow.
So chemo for lupus?
Yeah, they were telling me about it, and I was like, are you guys sure? And
you're like, what do you think I have? Because that sounds really intense.
Exactly. And then I researched it, and Selena Gomez did it. And so I was like, well, if she's doing it, I need to do it. And so I ended up trying it, did a few rounds.
That's awesome.
I started eating better as well.
Describe eating better for me. Give me a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What does eating better mean?
Okay, cool.
Give me a before and give me an after.
I was about to say better is a good term because what I used to eat was nothing but literally cheeseburgers, fried chicken, definitely chicken wings, French fries, and pizza. Like that was my diet.
So American food?
Very, very American food.
You're in Southern Georgia. You have to eat fried chicken. I mean, it's required. I think it's on the flag.
It is.
The state, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is eating better now?
I try to have a salad at least once a day as one of my meals. And I went from literally eating 0 vegetables to now I eat a salad every day. That's a huge increase for me alone. And then I've just added fruits throughout, like as part of my meal.
So what's your protein?
I still eat fried chicken. I have to, like, especially as a Christian, I have to eat Chick-fil-A or the church will kick me out. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey, can I get a Chick-fil-A with that Hobby Lobby dipping sauce, please?
That's right. Yeah. And half off.
Oh, you got the coupon.
Yeah.
So you still eat the same stuff. You just incorporated some more vegetables and fruits into your diet.
Yeah. I should go back and say, I don't think I should pay for Chick-fil-A because I should go through the drive-through and say Jesus paid it all.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
I should get it for free. I'm actually going to try that.
Yeah, try that on video. Post that on Instagram. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, see what happens.
That's fantastic.
But no, so yeah, I did add those things to my diet, and then I also started working out. Now it was slow at first. It was just a walk and then a jog, and now I run 2 miles every day.
What? From who?
From who? Yeah, the popo. Still scared. When I hear sirens, I run.
Don't we all? So you went from being in a wheelchair for what were you, like a year and a half in a wheelchair or something?
No, it was about a year and a half to 2 years ago that I was, and I was only in the wheelchair for about 6 months.
Oh, that didn't even count. I'm just kidding. And so now you run 2 miles every day. You just get up and you're like, huh, I feel like going for a run.
Yeah.
Is it something that you do because you think it's necessary or something that you do because you actually get something out of it? You enjoy it?
It's twofold. One, I feel like it's something I need to do to keep my body from failing again, but it's also an opportunity I genuinely love listening to podcasts that can make me like feel better.
I thought you were going to say you genuinely love running. I was going to hang up
No.
on you. So go on. You genuinely love my podcast. I mean, podcasts. What?
Yeah, and I love just learning things and growing mentally and spiritually. So like I'll turn something on and it's one of those like, okay, I'm going to listen to this while I run or while I jog, etc., until I can't do it anymore. And then I come home and cry.
That is hilarious. The next time you go for a run, if you are up for it, the last episode that came out of 2023, I interviewed a gentleman named Bill Weiss. Are you familiar with him?
No, Weiss.
Wiese. He's an author like yourself, and he wrote a book. I would tell you what it's about, but it's in the title. He wrote a book called 23 Minutes in Hell. So he spent 23 minutes in hell and then came back and wrote a book about it.
Wow.
That's probably the most spiritual episode I've had. Well, not probably, it 100% is. So if you're looking for something to check out, that was insanely fascinating.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Thank you. I'm sure it gets pretty heated.
See what you did there. And I'm here for it, as the kids say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so they did chemo. Do you remember how many rounds it was or how much chemo? And was it injected into your veins or was it a pill?
It was injected. I sat for 4.5 hours for one round. And then 2 weeks later, I had to go for another 4-hour round. And then they wait 2 months and then they do the 2 more rounds again. I probably did that 3 different times. So a total of 6.
Okay. And then what? You're just like done? Like you just threw away your wheelchair and you could walk? It's a miracle? Or is there like ongoing, was there more medication after that?
I was supposed to go back and get more. And I was like, no, I'm doing better. And obviously a pharmacist tells you to do the right thing and finish all of your meds.
Pharmacists don't say that. The doctor says that.
Well,
The pharmacist says
elected.
that'll be $49.95. Here's your receipt.
That's true.
Do you have any questions? Take this with milk. That's what the pharmacist says. And the
Yeah.
doctor says, take it all.
And what's your date of birth? Yeah, that too. But whoever tells me that, I struggle with following through, which is horrible, especially for like antibiotics. They tell you to
I don't think you can say that because you finished a book.
I'm talking about with medicine.
Oh, okay, sure.
Like when you get that antibiotic, when I start feeling better, I'm done with it.
Not me, dude. When I'm done taking my antibiotics, it doesn't matter if I feel better or not. I start asking the neighbors if they have any leftover antibiotics. I'm that guy.
Oh, okay. Well, a little different.
a little different.
But no, so I was supposed to do one more set of treatments, and I was like, well, let's see how I do for a little bit. I just never went back to that. Now, I still see that doctor. It's a rheumatologist. I still see her to get blood work just to make sure we're on the same path that I'm supposed to be on. And then I still take medicine at night, but it's truly just for, it's like gabapentin. It's just for like nerves.
Like it's an anxiety medication?
No, it messes like with the nerves in my leg.
Oh, okay.
It's like my muscle, because my form of lupus is messes with my skin and then my muscle. And my muscle is like hitting down on my nerves and it makes it sometimes painful, sometimes itchy still.
So you decided that the best way to fight that would be to run and build more bigger, stronger muscles?
Well, that's the main thing is building the stronger muscles. My leg truly, I can't remember the term for it, but like when your muscle, like,
Atrophy.
yeah, atrophied. My whole right leg was just atrophied. It was crazy.
So are your legs different sizes? Is one bigger than the other?
Not anymore.
Is it because you skinnied the other one down? Oh no, you bulked the other one up, but that makes more sense.
Yeah. My left one that was a little heavier, I body shamed it for a while.
Oh, you just sort of chastised it,
Yeah.
posted pictures of it on Twitter, and it's
Yeah.
like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You just posted a picture of your leg and said, pizza, huh? Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
hmm
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
On this podcast, we explore fantastical thinking, moral panics, urban legends, conspiracy theories, hoaxes, and crazes, examine the forces that shape our culture, and tell the stories that create the realities we share, and sometimes the realities we don't. I'm your host, Chelsea Weber Smith, and this is American Hysteria.
Let's get back into it.
I want to talk about your book. Actually, no, I want to talk about you have a business. You are a consultant.
Yeah.
Tell me why you decided to start this business and what exactly you consult on.
Yeah. So I'll rewind a little bit and say when I got out, it's very hard a lot of times for people with some sort of record to get a job.
Almost always.
Yeah. And I ended up going and applying for a front desk position at a popular hotel chain. So I got the job, and then 3 weeks into it, they made me the general manager, which was crazy. It was cool.
Okay, so that tells me one of two things, maybe a little from column A, a little from column B. A, you were really good at your job and you impressing folks, and also everybody else quit.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. For sure. Small town, hard to find people, I guess. That's why I actually still very, very much advocate for people to hire men and women out of the system, because when you get out, you not only want to show yourself, but you do want to show your family and friends who are there for you, hey, I'm in this to win this. I don't want to go back. I want to do this. And so there was a lot of that energy of let's do this. I want to show myself, one, that I still have it. And so I showed up and did what I was supposed to do, and they moved me into that role. And then years later, I took a director of operations for the hotel chain. And then,
So was that a regional position?
is it regional? Yeah.
Okay.
And then I realized a lot of what I could be doing. This was right in the height of the wheelchair.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And I was like, it was a lot of driving. And you would think, well, if you're in a wheelchair, you're sitting either way, so you're good.
Which leg was giving you the problems?
My right.
That's your accelerator pedal. Dude, you
Yeah.
you have been in front of me for my entire life on the highway.
I just put it on cruise control and say, Jesus, take the wheel. And we'll just go from there. It's kind of nice.
The thing is that when you put it on cruise control, you're in a school zone, and then you just never take it off of cruise control when you get on the highway. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, I feel you. But and so I think part of the driving was actually wearing down on my body, which is crazy when you think, oh, you're just sitting, but I don't know what it is. It was just killing me.
Well, not moving is not good for your body. Like I know that
Right.
I'll work my butt. I work outside, so I'll work like crazy, and then the hour drive home sometimes hurts worse than the working.
Yeah.
Like I get out of the vehicle and I'm just like, oh, my back, oh, my hips. What's happening? I'm old. Where's my tennis balls? Like that.
Yeah, your racquetballs. And so for me, it was a lot of doing what I was going to the different properties to do was basically go in and say, hey, here's ways we can improve at this location. And I realized I can do a lot of this myself and help other small businesses through consulting. And so we do these undercover assessments, which is really just like secret shopping.
You say we, how many people work with you?
I have 2 employees, so a total of 3 of us. It's not big, but it puts food on the table, healthy food on the table. But we go in and we do these assessments, and then we sit down with the team a few days later, like the leadership team, and we go over, hey, this is what you can improve on. This is what you're doing well. And then we sometimes get brought on for a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day contract where we go in and we work with the staff every day as like another manager sort of position, but we're really there to train and develop their staff.
Sort of pinpoint those weaknesses and then work on those specific areas.
Yeah. And it's all about developing. I'm not the type where I could probably have more employees if I didn't do it this way, where we only give them enough until they need us again. But that's not our strategy. Our strategy is truly to develop them where they're sustained, after we're finished.
How much pushback do you get? Like when a company hires you and says, hey, tell me what's wrong with my store, and then you sit down with them and you got a list of 47 things. Are they like, well, I'm going to argue with you on that one. I don't really believe that one's true. You just got this one on a bad day. How much pushback do you get?
We do get a little bit of that last one you just said where it's like, oh, you caught us on the wrong day. But honestly, if they're in the position to hire us and pay us to do this, they're ready to hear.
Is that what you tell them? You go, look, you called me.
Yeah. I have had one restaurant who brought us in for, I think it was 3 months. And like every day we'd come in and specifically, I was at this location. I'd come in, I'd do these things. And then she would push back on everything that we were implementing. I was like, why did you spend the money to bring me in? I felt like I was just another employee. I was like, I think you're spending a lot of money just for.
I think you have misunderstood the nature of our relationship.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, I'll stand here and get paid. I'm cool with that, but it's not benefiting you. So we've had a little bit of that, but not much.
We're talking about you, Zaxby's.
Oh, you're bringing out Zaxby's into it.
I'm just kidding. It's not Zaxby's. I'm just kidding. It's In-N-Out Burger. No, I'm just kidding again. We're going back to Chick-fil-A.
I do love Zaxby's though.
I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for about 1.5 years, and that was my first experience with Zaxby's. Pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Zaxby's got some pretty good stuff, and they got some salads and whatnot. They got all kinds of salads.
Yeah, their Zax sauce is what's so phenomenal.
You're not allowed to say those kinds of things on this show.
Well, I'll tell you, I was on a podcast one time, and I went off on this tangent about how awesome Zaxby's was. After we got off, the guy was like, do you want to go get Zaxby's? Is that why you're talking about it so much? Are you hungry? And I was like, sure, let's go. And then he bought me Zaxby's.
Oh, so this was a local podcast to where you are?
Well, I was up in North Carolina doing some work. And
where?
Charlotte.
Yeah, I was there in October for the first time ever. It's a really pretty place.
Very. It's beautiful.
Okay, now we're going to talk about your book. You have written a book. It is called Chaos, Overcoming the Overwhelming. Who did you write this book for? And you can't say yourself.
I wrote it really to help hurting people find hope. That's the ultimate goal.
Define hurting.
Hurting in correlation to the word chaos. I use the word chaos to be a placeholder for any sort of pain or confusion that you may experience. For me, it was incarceration, but it was also illness. And for some people, it's the loss of a loved one.
When you say illness, are you talking about addiction illness, or are you talking about a wheelchair-bound lupus illness?
Both.
Or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. And then rejection, loneliness, the loss of a loved one, divorce. The word is so interchangeable because chaos can come in many different ways, but we can all overcome. And so this sort of book works and walks the reader through ways to find purpose in their pain.
So you said at the top of that description that you wrote it to help hurt people find help. And I asked you to define hurt. Now define help.
I'll put it this way, is that when you're hurting and you're on the ledge and you want to jump, the hope part is saying, hey, you're going to get through this. Let's walk you through this.
It gets better.
Yeah, it gets better. You got this. But then when they get off the ledge, the first question is, oh, what do I do now? That's the help part. It's giving practical steps on like how you can get through it.
So you're giving practical advice on not just, hey, it gets better, just sit there and hope for it to get better, but actual tangible things that someone can actively do to ensure that it really does get better?
Yes. My faith played a big role in helping me find my way back. So I do want to tell the listener, like I do talk about my faith through the book, and I do talk about some Christian principles. I only share that because I don't ever want to try to trick somebody into buying the book. Like if they don't, want to read a Christian book, I don't ever want to trick you into reading it. And so I do like that to be known.
So it is a self-help book, but it is interlaced with and connected with spirituality and religion and whatever your faith is.
Yes.
Right. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I have a couple questions about your book. I listened to you in an interview where you said something to the effect of, you went from why me to use me. Like Jesus, why me to Jesus, use me. Explain what that means and how you came to that conclusion.
That's in my chapter called Eeyore syndrome. And I talk about Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh and how
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and about an hour and a half from me is Austin, Texas. And every year for, I think it's over 60 years now, in a big public park, they have this massive festival to celebrate Eeyore's birthday. And so it's Eeyore's birthday party. And seriously, I want to say they're like in their 65th one. It is insane.
that's crazy.
Probably 10,000 people that show up to this thing. And it's free live music. There's three-legged races and that thing you do where you run with an egg on a spoon.
Yeah.
There's pin the tail on the donkey. There's real donkeys. There's obviously face painting, but there's also body painting. It's a real hippie town, so a bunch of people are just walking around with paint on instead of clothing. There's a ton of like craft beers there and, fair food like turkey legs and funnel cakes and just all this crazy stuff. There's this drum circle. It's a drum circle where everybody who wants to can just bring a drum and join the circle.
Wow.
And so like the last few times I was there was probably 100 people in a circle just beating drums. Like it is insane. And it is called Eeyore's birthday party. And it is every year in Austin at Peace Park, Pease.
Wow.
It's a blast. So your chapter is what? Eeyore's birthday party?
Yeah, on Eeyore's birthday. But it's funny that that's what they do because it's like a celebration where, in my opinion,
it's to cheer him up for his birthday.
Oh, I see. Ironically, if Eeyore was at that party, he would still be having his own pity party, right? He would still be sitting in the corner going, well, it's probably about to rain, and
Oh, funny you say that, dude. It rains most years during that thing.
that's funny. That's ironic. That is funny. But that whole chapter is about how even in my time, I remember it was ridiculous that my parents and like my family answered the phone when I called like from prison.
Why?
Because looking back at it, I remember how many times I was like Eeyore, where I would literally be like, "What are y'all doing?" And they're like, "We're going."
You mean like on the phone with them? You turned into Eeyore? Oh, okay.
Yes, because they're like, "We're going to get steak," and I'm like, "Cool, must be nice. I'm eating pig slop for dinner.
I'm eating ramen. Cool,
right?" And so it's like I was bringing down the room, and it's like, why? They weren't doing anything that they shouldn't be doing.
Maybe it's not so surprising that they would answer the phone, but what you don't know is that right before they picked up, they go, "Oh my God,
Exactly.
this dude again." And then they would go, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly. And, I talk about in the book, I'm like, if I were Winnie the Pooh, I would either run from Eeyore when I saw him or I'd pop the dude a Prozac or a Xanax, something. And for me, the hardest step is when you say to yourself, when you're in the midst of some sort of chaos where you feel overwhelmed, when you try to truly break that cycle of saying, okay, I'm going to stop moping around and saying, why me? And I'm going to start saying, all right, God, use me. There's something that I can be doing to help myself, but also help others. That is therapy within itself, is when you can shift the focus off of yourself and focus on helping someone else.
So therapy is when you can shift the blame onto, no, just kidding.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yep.
Explain to me how you got from why me to use me. Get back to that.
It was really just to that place of while I was sitting around moping and sitting around, laying around, being in my own feelings, going, this is not progressing me any, and it's not making me feel better. I cannot change where I am physically, but I have the choice to change where I am mentally. That was just the place I got to where I go, I'm done just sitting around moping. That transition from why me to use me was crucial.
So those slogans or those phrases, why me and use me, who are those directed at? Is it Jesus?
Yeah, for me, it was Jesus. I want to word it well so the listener understands, but
You're a writer.
so I better do a good job at this point.
Pressure's on.
But for me growing up, it was all about knowing the Bible and knowing God, but it was not a relationship with him. And in this time, I realized, I don't think Jesus really cares when you get to heaven, like how many verses you've memorized. He wants to know, did you love him? Did you have a relationship with him? And that's just me personally. how I feel on the matter. And so I realized while locked up, I want to actually find out who Jesus is and who he says he is as my loving father. And of course, stories like the prodigal son story, where the son leaves and then his life is just trashed. And then he runs back, or he goes back home, and his father sees him off in the distance. And his father runs to the son. And the son was practicing all the way home, going, okay, when I see my father, I'm going to tell him I'm unworthy. And he kept practicing his speech. But when the father saw him in the distance, it was actually the father who ran to the son, embraced his son, and was just like, hey, let's celebrate, because my son was lost and now he's found. And I realized in that moment that, okay, God's not just giving us a list of rules so we can't have fun. He's not, just this dude up in the sky telling us all these things we can and cannot do. No, he's my loving father who, even though I've messed up in my life, he's the one who sees me. He runs toward me. He embraces me and then celebrates that I was willing to come home.
Nicely said. What did you learn about Jesus while you were incarcerated?
That he cares more about relationship than knowledge. I mean, and I know that sounds crazy or weird to say, but
How did you figure that out? Like, how did you learn that in prison? Were you doing a bunch of reading on the subject? Like,
yeah,
what were you just
I
thinking
read a
about?
lot.
Okay.
I read a lot, of course, the Bible, but also books like
That's available in prisons?
it is very much so.
Was it the King James version?
That's the only one, brother. No, that's the only one. I read the NIV, and then I actually read the Message, was like a paraphrase. It was a fun read.
Did you say the Message? Is that where like they take whatever the Bible says, but then they translate it into actual modern day English so you can understand what the heck they're talking about?
Yeah, and it's more, some scholars will tell you, well, it's not a translation, it's a paraphrase. And so I do want to clarify, it's more of like they'll take a few verses and then sum it up for you.
Cliff's Notes.
Yeah. It makes it a fun read. Like I read the book of Job, for example, and of course his life went to hell. And it was funny. His friends were like, well, have you thought about doing this? And Job in the Message paraphrase is like, oh, cool. I never thought of that. Thank you. This is very sarcastic. I'm like, this is hilarious.
That sounds fantastic. Back to the book.
Yeah.
Chaos, Overcoming the Overwhelming. When was it that you decided to use chaos as the vehicle for these lessons? Why the word chaos? How did you settle on that word? Because you said that word is sort of interchangeable for all of the various ailments that people have. How did you settle on that word?
That's a good question. I don't remember the exact aha moment I had where the light bulb came on for that word, but it was just a word that I always felt like, man, things are so chaotic right now. That was something I would say. And so I don't remember the exact moment chaos came about, but it's funny. I do a lot of book signings with like Barnes and Noble, and it's funny. My banners say new book, who dis?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had to. And then it has like chaos on it, and everyone will stop by and go, oh, chaos, that describes my life right now.
Well, then this book is for you, son.
I'm like, perfect. Here we go. But no, it's funny how many people say how that word like connects to something in their life. And so I don't remember the exact moment, but I'm so glad I've came about because it's worked so well.
This is your first book. How hard was it for you to find a publisher?
It was not easy, for sure.
Okay, cool.
It was a lot of no's.
How many?
How many?
Did you keep them? Do you have all the no's?
I have a few. I had one. It was a Christian publisher, but they literally told me they loved the book, but did not love the author because I had been arrested. And I was like, oh, cool. So it was really funny. The way they said it, I was like, okay, all right, that's what we're doing now. Cool. So I got some no's like that.
That is a fantastic no. I hope you kept that one. You should frame that bad boy. That is awesome.
I need to. In that moment, I realized, okay, here we are. We're back into the world where some people just don't understand how easy it is to get caught up in the system, and how I don't want to go down that path today, but
sure.
Bottom line is it's crazy. And it was a good reminder that, oh, okay, this happens. And I have a great team around me that's helped like market the book and promote the book. And even in the final edits, they're like, are you sure you want to mention your story? And I said, yeah, because I believe hiding looks like guilt and guilt can lead to shame. And so I wanted to share my story.
It also leads to less credibility.
Yeah, that's true. And it's ironic how that credibility was what made this book or has made this book so successful in a lot of ways, is because now when I talk to somebody who's gone through chaos, they don't look at me and go, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know what I'm going through, because I do know what they're going through.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Loom Stupid, where fashion meets quirkiness. Whether you're looking for statement tees that spark conversations or funky pieces that add whimsy to your outfit, Loom Stupid has got you covered. Join the fashion revolution and express your unique style with Loom Stupid. Visit our exclusive website at www.loomstupid.com and discover a world of fashion that's brilliantly bizarre and undeniably chic. New designs are being added all the time. Loomstupid.com. Get your whimsy on with Loom Stupid, because being silly is the new stylish.
Let's get back into it.
So in the book, do you say why you went to prison?
Yeah, I discuss it throughout the book.
Okay, cool.
And so with that, it's very vulnerable. That's a good word to use. I have that vulnerability. I talk about even how much the shame of just being locked up was put on me and how I wanted to take my life. And I discuss all of that. And it's not to make this book an autobiography. And that's why I share it a little bit here and there throughout the book, is because I don't want it to come across as some memoir of some dude you've never heard of. So I wanted to make sure that I share a little bit about it because of that credibility, that to be able to share, hey, been there, done that, but also give other stories throughout the book of how people have overcome.
I'm not sure what that is. That's just over your left shoulder. Yeah, that right there. What is that?
That's my book.
Is it the actual book?
Yeah.
Because it looks kind of small. This is going to sound weird, but it looks like a card game. Oh, there you go. It's huge. It's not small. It was just far away. That's how distance works, Steve.
Yeah. And it took everything in me not to say that's what she said when you made those comments. But
And yet you said it. So this is going to sound weird, but have you given any thought to turning that book into flashcards? I know it sounds weird, right? But what I mean by flashcards is like, are you familiar with the game Cards Against Humanity?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something similar to that, but with the points in your book. And the creative part is up to you, but that might actually do really well if it was some sort of a trivia slash flashcard slash kind of a card game thing where, you know, you've got these cards where maybe it's a situational thing, like what would you do in this situation, or how to handle these types of feelings or something like that. I feel like if you can somehow turn that into, I don't know, sort of fun,
Yeah.
maybe like a party game, I think that would do really well. That's what I thought it was when it was sitting on the shelf.
I'll actually have to write that down and process that.
You should look into that, and then maybe you can do a Kickstarter to help get it paid for, because card games are all the rage right now.
Yeah, they really are. And that's a cool way to do it. And then it sounds like weird to say that a book or like a topic so deep that you can make it into a game, but that's ultimately a good transition into why the three H's that we discussed earlier is hope and help, but that third one is humor. And that's one thing I try to add through the book, because I do believe wholeheartedly when you can joke about your situation, you take ownership over it instead of it owning you. And so there's something about making a joke. Not that I'm writing and trying to diminish someone's pain, but it's just to be able to make them laugh, you know, share a funny story that gets them smiling or takes their thoughts off of their own pain for a moment.
And also, being able to laugh at something brings it out into the sunshine. You know, like if you're not laughing about it, then maybe you're trying to ignore it or sweep it under the rug or pretend it doesn't exist. And then there's a certain level of guilt associated with that.
Yeah.
And so I think that bringing things out into the sunlight, they say, what did they say? Sunlight is the best disinfectant, or whatever the hell that is. There's this film director who makes a bunch of movies that I like, but he's a total asshole. So I won't say his name, but he likes to say, light a candle rather than curse the darkness. And so like, I feel like shining a light on something, whether it's humor or not, I mean, it's more fun if it's humor, but shining a light on something rather than just kind of keeping it in the dark, I think that's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So make that card game.
Yeah.
Where can people find this book?
It's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, all the places. But if you go to thenoahasher.com, you can find all the links. It'll take you to all the pages.
What if somebody wanted an autographed copy?
Come to a book signing event. Some authors have it on their website where they can do all that. I just haven't.
Why?
It's a lot of work.
What's a lot of work?
Gotta sign it. Do you know how many letters in my name? No, that's not the reason. But it's, I don't want something on my page right now where I have to keep up with transactions, like money transactions.
So you're lazy? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it sounds like I'm crazy busy right now is really what it is.
Good for you, dude. That's rad.
But I'm thankful for all the busyness.
You know you can farm that shit out, right? You can just sign a bunch of books and, hey, mom, every time this notification goes off, put one of these in the mail.
There you go. I even have stickers that Barnes & Noble gave me. It says signed edition to put on the book.
Oh, cool. Is that your publisher? Is it Barnes & Noble?
No, really, if anyone's listening to this and they're an author, once you publish, get in with Barnes & Noble. And what I mean is beg them, plead with them, bring them a cookie. I don't care, but get in and show up and show out at your first Barnes & Noble event. I doubled what they typically do at this Barnes & Noble for an event like this.
How'd you manage to do that?
Just like promoting it, like with my followers and everything.
Oh, okay.
What happened then was the store manager, he was so impressed with it. And then when I started reaching out to other Barnes & Nobles, he was my reference. I said, hey, ask this guy. Here's his email. He told me I could do all that. I wasn't just throwing out his email address, but
you're all, hey, look, check with this dude. I can sell some books, yo.
Pretty much. When they don't know an author, they're not wanting to take the gamble on buying all these books, which is weird to me because it's like there's a return policy.
Yeah, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I mean, how many things have you bought that don't work and you're just like, I'll just throw it away instead of take it back?
All the time.
Yeah.
But I always recommend that, I was recommending that just at first, like, hey, we have a return policy. But now I can prove that the events do well. And so now I've picked up other events with Barnes & Noble. So it's just worked ever since.
I'm going to take you back to the autographed copy version available on your website. I was talking to another author, Teresa Strasser, and I asked her, same thing I asked you, signed copies available on your website. She was like, no. Should I do that? I said, well, you've done book signings, right? She goes, yeah. I said, what did those people that were standing in line, what was it that they all did? Oh, they bought a book and then asked you to sign it. So that's a thing that's in demand. Well, that particular signing that she was talking about, they sold out of the book.
Wow.
They ran out. So have it on your website, bro. Not everybody can go to a signing. I'm not going to Georgia.
Yeah.
No offense to Georgia. I'm not going to Georgia anytime soon. And it's way harder for you to come to San Antonio to sign my book than it is for me to couple of clicks and a PayPal. Come on, bro. Team Noah Asher.
That's right. We need to do it.
Talk to your publicist. You know that your publisher will do all that for you. Just tell them, hey, this is what I want to do. And they'll be like, okay, done.
I'm going to have to do something just for you.
Just for me, buddy. Noah, where can people find you on social media?
It's just the Noah Asher on Instagram, and then it's thenoahasher.com. So pretty much everything is the Noah Asher.
So are you only on Instagram or are you everywhere?
Just Instagram.
No TikToks?
No, I don't dance. I actually was asked, like, you should get on Instagram. Like, what do you think about that? And this sounds crazy to say, but I was like, well, let's just see if it gets banned first. I don't want to do all that initial work.
TikTok?
Yeah, kind of waiting to see what happens.
I have a hunch about what's going to happen. I'll go ahead and tell you. Yeah, Mark Zuckerkorn is going to buy it.
Yeah.
Because A, he buys everything, and B, as soon as he buys it, then everybody looks the other way. So I think Mark Zuckerkorn is going to buy it.
I agree with that. You know, it would be another really good option is if YouTube bought it.
I'm going to disagree because I'm mad at them because they demonetize me almost weekly.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird. So a lot of my guests are musicians, and so I'll ask them if I can play one of their songs. And even though I have the artist permission, sometimes it's the writer and the artist. I have their permission, but whatever GPT chatbots are running YouTube, it doesn't matter. If there's music in it, then they just tell me to piss off. I'm mad at them. You know what's really weird? I put up a TikTok video. I don't know. I say video. I put up a TikTok, whatever the hell, and I put some music. Like on TikTok, it's just like Instagram. You can search and put in music.
Yeah.
I didn't upload that music. That's Instagram's music or whatever. TikTok, same thing. And they took it down for copyright infringement.
That's crazy.
I was like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. I hear that a lot about TikTok in general. So I was like, I don't know. It's just a waste of time.
So weird. But maybe things will be all better now, because I think it was last week. It was a huge announcement that the Taylor Swift music is back on TikTok.
Well, I'm going to download it today.
There you go. Nice. Noah, as we're heading out, is there anything that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about today that you specifically wanted to talk about?
I would just say I wanted people to know that all proceeds for the book Chaos provide copies for prison libraries and rehab centers across America.
All proceeds.
Yeah, I don't get any of them.
Why?
I just remember how hopeless and helpless I felt while I was locked up and how I read and read and read. And for me, I'm thankful that my family, if I mentioned a book, my mom would order it and ship it to me. But not everyone had that luxury. And I really wanted to make sure that this book could get into some of the deepest, darkest places. I tell people all the time, I want to make sure I'm the brightest of lights for people in their darkest of pits.
Do you speak at churches or religious gatherings? Do you do any of that kind of speaking?
I really just speak at rehab centers and addiction centers.
Why not churches?
I don't know. I feel like my message is best presented in these places.
That's a good answer. Well, quite literally, Noah, you're doing the Lord's work.
Thank you.
Noah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your chaotic life to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and thanks for all that you're doing with your podcast. Appreciate it. Thanks for the interview. I love the humor part of the book, and I love to have fun, and I think we had a great time, so I appreciate it.
I think we also had a great time. Absolutely. And you have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.